What's up, YouTube? Today I have Justin Lee on the channel to help share some information about the profession of physical therapy and the many different aspects about the career. Justin's been a physical therapist for a little over a couple of years. Does that sound about right?
Year and a half, yeah.
Year and a half, okay. And he has his YouTube channel, Lift for Change, which is around 9,000 subscribers. I checked a little while ago, and man, that's just
Yes.
crazy. I was jumping
Yes.
on that earlier than that, but it just feels like that's grown a lot. On his channel,
Yes.
he helps educate people interested in physical therapy and exercise science. And he also has a pre-PT Facebook group that is growing. And Justin's also going to be a father soon. I wanted to congratulate him on that amazing
Oh,
lifestyle
thank you.
milestone. But Justin, welcome to the channel.
Thank you so much. And wow, what an introduction. It's crazy to see how like people like yourself is just so involved with what I'm doing, and it really makes me feel important that you took the time to, keep up and, do your homework on me. So I really appreciate that. Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing, if I can compliment Justin on something here to start it off, though, is Justin is very receptive to the people that follow him. So if you are following my channel for some reason and you're into physical therapy, reach out to Justin because he's had some experiences. I mean, he's went through PT school already. He's, started working a little bit, and real kind guy, gets back to you pretty fast. I know life's busy for everybody, especially with the family started like you got going on right now. But I mean, real good network to start off. But today we're just going to be asking Justin some more questions about that so that we can learn some more about the field. You ready, Justin?
I'm here. I'm an open book.
All right. All right. So tell me a little bit about your academic background, like starting off early days, and kind of what led you down the road to get into physical therapy school.
Yes. I mean, you know this story, but for those who haven't heard this story, I'll try to keep it short as possible, because I know my academic journey has been crazy. It's not just a straight go out of high school, go to college, straight into PT school. Like, mine's not like that. But I'll just start off by saying I went to school in college. I went to college right after high school, and I went for a semester, and then I actually dropped out of college. Um, it was a big deal for me and my family, especially coming from my culture. Like, education is such a big deal, and for me to drop out was a big devastation to my entire family. So I try to go through in and out of school, community colleges here and there, trying to get some classes, but being backed up because I don't have enough units to be a priority. So then I'm just stuck in this loop, this circle of trying to get classes, but not making really much progress in my PT school application, trying to figure out what I want to do, all these different things. I went through in and out of different jobs. I worked as an EMT, wildland firefighter, personal trainer, group fitness instructor, and still trying to go through school at the same time. It wasn't until when I finally realized, after I came back from becoming a wildland firefighter, I said, you know what? If I physically get injured, then I don't have anything else to fall back on. So I need to secure my future. I realized that having an education and being in a professional field or a healthcare profession was a very secure and a for sure way to know that I was going to be okay in my future, right? Even if I got injured, I'll still have a job. So then I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and boom, physical therapy was right there for me. I said, okay, great. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to become a physical therapist. And then I look at my GPA, calculate that. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm at a I'm at a 2.3 GPA.
Wow.
How the heck am I supposed to get accepted into PT school when the minimum is a 2.3? I haven't taken any prerequisite. I took one bio class and I got a D in it, right? And so I haven't taken any prerequisites. The journey seems so long. As I started my academic journey, figuring out, making mistakes, getting grades, good and bad, I finally figured it out and graduated with a 3.8 GPA and got accepted into PT school at Azusa Pacific University. Yeah.
Nice. Wow, that's awesome. I totally relate to the aspect that you brought up about getting in a career that you feel like is not going to break down your body. Any people that I
Yes.
talk to that are younger than me, it's sort of like a saying that I have where you only have one body and there's only so much you can do to repair your body. So you got to make it last as long as you can. So I really like that aspect, and just props to you for really bouncing back and getting your GPA up. I've been through something similar, nowhere near that kind of drastic numbers though, but I mean that's got to be an inspiration for anybody out here listening to that. So awesome story.
Yes. It was definitely a hard journey, but I really appreciate that you find the goodness and the hard work that needs to be put in, and I think that's really all that it takes is you have to just focus in and grind through some of those hard classes, but really work through the ones that are difficult and you don't want to do because struggle and sacrifice is needed to make progress. So if you want to elevate yourself, you have to have some resistance.
Very well said. What were your struggles like compared from undergrad to grad school, if you can think of any like major comparisons?
Struggles as in like academic, or struggles as in life, or
Just in general, I guess, if you want to talk about like the scheduling, how different is that? The rigor in general,
yeah,
what kind
yeah,
of challenges does it give you with your relationships personally? I mean,
yes, yeah. Great question. Okay, so I would say first off, like let's just target the elephant in the room is academics, right? Like you're an undergrad and then doctorate level. Like there's a huge difference in academic standards, rigor, right? In undergrad, I was learning, maybe I had like four classes and they were in various subjects, right? Bio, statistics, history, writing, whatever. And you're like, I gotta get through all this. In PT school, it's all funneled in into an area, a general study that you really enjoy learning, which is why you're going to PT school. So in PT school, yeah, the academics are a lot harder, but it's actually something you're enjoying learning. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've taken your first kinesiology, exercise science, human movement class where you're like, dude, this stuff is really cool. um, I'm not going to say all of that stuff is like that in PT school because there's definitely classes that are a total drag, but it's definitely something that's like, well, you're like, well, I could actually see myself using this information in the real world and using it every day in my practice. So that motivates you to push through those harder classes because you're like, hey, you know what, at least this is going to be useful versus statistics or history or whatever. So academically, that's for sure a big difference. I would say relationally, in undergrad, everyone's coming in at different times. You might have a cohort, but for the most part, I mean, you might be a sophomore or a junior, and a typical sophomore junior is like, let's say, like 20 years old, right? But it's really common to have 25-year-olds, 28-year-olds come into that same class.
yeah,
And they're just on different levels of life, maturity, all that kind of stuff. But in grad school, you do still have a range. Like our lowest age was about 20, 21, no, 24 when they graduated, and the oldest was like 32. So you have a range, but for the most part, everyone's motive, their vision, their goal is all the same. We are all here to work our asses off and fulfill our dreams to become a physical therapist. And we are willing to put up with anything that comes in our way and overcome that adversity because we know what it takes to become a doctor of physical therapy. So it's amazing to be able to surround yourself with these like-minded people who are willing to elevate themselves and who are self-motivated, where you're not like the only person in class like, am I the only one trying to get an A here? I can see you're on your phone, you're on YouTube, you're on Netflix in class, but in PT school, you're like, you're taking notes, you're really studying. I'm going to study with you because I know that everyone here has the potential to be great. And I think that's what was the hugest difference for me was like, I'm surrounded by great people just like me.
yeah. I can totally attest to that too. With just the time I've spent, the playing field is like leveled. I mean, there is
Yes.
nobody that you can really say is, I don't know, it's definitely more equivalent. There's more, you can't really look at somebody across the room and say, that person's a slacker. There's no slackers
Right.
in PT
There's no
school. There's a
slackers.
reason
Yeah.
why they made it.
Yeah. And if there is, then they'll be out in 2 weeks because they'll fail out.
Yeah, no kidding. They can't keep up with the volume.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, along your academic career, did you strongly consider doing any other careers throughout all the like other healthcare careers, I guess specifically other than PT?
Yeah. I actually have something to share with you that I don't think I really share too much online. And as you know, I worked as a personal trainer, and I still do work as a personal trainer, fitness coach, group fitness coach, whatever you may call it. Just pretty much get people to exercise, live healthier lives, get closer to their fitness goals, stuff like that. Um, you know, I that's something where I've always have been like this, and even now, like I've gone through PT school and have been working as a personal trainer for 10 years, and my desire to be both professions are still level. And I find that very interesting because I went through all this schooling to want to become a physical therapist, and then here I am with my passion for fitness and exercise still being the same. I think
Yeah,
a lot of that has to do with the carryover with a lot of similar concepts with PT and personal training. Um, but something that I haven't really shared with people is that one of the biggest reasons, or one, not the biggest, but one of the more convincing reasons why I wanted to become a physical therapist was because I would become a bigger fish in the sea as a personal trainer with my doctor of physical therapy license. And it's hard to compete with that in the personal trainer world because I've made the sacrifices to put in the 3 years to grow. And then now it's like, all right, guys, like you guys just have your certifications, but I have my doctorate degree, right? So, I mean, obviously, marketing and personality makes a big difference, but just investing in myself in that way has made me a bigger fish in the sea, which then has made me more marketable in the personal trainer world.
I like that. Yeah, that's really good advice because I mean, there's thousands of personal trainers out there. I mean, you don't even have to have a certification
So
to
many.
call yourself a personal trainer. And being a physical therapist, that's on a whole different level in terms of respect, especially, whether good or bad, with the transition into calling us doctors of physical therapy has been good for the general public or bad.
Hmm.
It definitely adds a lot more of a higher level of respect, I would say, regardless if you're doing the personal training aspect or in PT.
Yeah.
So I like that answer though, because a lot of people aren't really willing to be honest about that. I don't feel like, but
Yeah.
very
Yeah. And
nice.
I know you have your CSCS certification. And, I know personal training is something that is interesting to you as well. So I really encourage you, as even now, as you're going through school, you can, by still saying, hey, I'm a student of physical therapy, it still helps you become a bigger fish compared to somebody who's not doing anything, you know?
Yeah, good advice, man. All right. I guess if you could look at your younger self and give your younger self some advice about choosing a career, because I know you had gone through all that roller coaster of events to get you to where you are now. What piece of advice would you give your younger self?
As far as looking for a career
Yeah.
choice. um, as much as I love physical therapy, I wouldn't always push it to everybody because I totally understand it's not for everyone. There are some personality types that differ, and the job description itself is just a better fit for some people. I would say first off, get into, especially in times like now, I would say definitely get into some kind of healthcare profession because it's just so much more stable, especially if you're interested in this science world. If you're interested in computer stuff or whatever, that's a good field too. But get into a healthcare profession. I would say if you're just in it for the money and having the least amount of loans and making the most bang for your buck, going into the nursing route or the PA route is great. Is very financially smart. because there's not that much schooling, the tuition isn't that crazy, and the barrier to entry is it's not bad. And the job outlook for those professions are always in need, always in need. However, nursing and PAs, as much as it sounds appealing, they don't treat in the way that physical therapists treat. And physical therapists are very unique in the way that they give their treatments, right? It's very physical. We're hands-on, we're moving things around, exercising. No other healthcare profession besides a few do that. Like, even as a healthcare professional, you can get in trouble by even just physically putting your hand on someone's shoulder because that's not a part of their treatment,
Yeah.
right? Some
Yeah.
people can be seeing it as like, dude, you are abusing me or physically doing something, right? But as physical therapists, we have an easier access. It's more like common for us to do those things. Of course, we got to ask for consent and all those things, but we're in a profession that's very unique where we get to actually do those things. And if you're like me and you're a kinesthetic learner and you like to be very hands-on, then I think physical therapy is a great path for you to do that.
Yeah, I like how you touched on nursing and PA. We got some more questions on that probably coming up a little bit later to compare. But
Yes.
very well responded. We are going to shift a little bit now more into like the actual work life of a PT.
Sure.
You've been working a little bit. What
Yes.
does a typical work life or work week look like for you? Do you
Yeah.
work weekends? Do you log lots of overtime by chance?
hmm every PT is different, as you know, and every setting is different. But for me, I worked in an outpatient orthopedic setting. My first year and a half, I was working in Hawaii at a outpatient private clinic. It was one-on-one for an entire hour, which is kind of new for a lot of people. But basically, a day in the life would be I would go in about 30 minutes earlier, check out my caseload. We used what's called Web PT as the software to document and all that stuff. Once you become a student and you go into the clinic, you might end up using this program called Web PT. By going Web PT, check out my schedule, see what I have. What's my caseload? Is it a eval? Is it patients I've been seeing? Are things working in the direction that we want it to go, or is progress a little bit slower? So these are questions I ask myself as I'm reviewing my caseload, and then the day starts. Right, 8 o'clock hits. I work from eight. I did 4 10s. Sorry, 3 10s and 2 5s. So that was my schedule. So 3 10s and then 2 5s, one during the week and then one on Saturday. And then I had a full day off on Tuesday. That's how my schedule would work. But yeah, you see a patient one-on-one for the entire hour. I usually do about 15 to 25 minutes of manual therapy, just because every patient likes manual therapy and you can always use that as a form of treatment. Of course, if it's indicated. And then follow that up with the rest of the time doing some therapeutic exercise, gait training, neuromuscular reeducation, whatever that may be. But I always found that putting your hands on the patient and helping and connecting in that way usually has a better outcome than as soon as they come in say, okay, 20 squats, let's go. You know,
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
just builds a little better, like it's just a love rub, It's like, oh,
Yeah.
feel good. Get me in a good mood.
Right. Yeah. Get them loosened up.
Yep, exactly.
What would you say is the most stressful aspect about PT?
When I first started school or when I first started the work, I thought the most stressful part of PT would be dealing with people, like dealing with their problems. They're coming in, they're like, this hurts or that hurts. And I thought the biggest struggle might be like, I don't know, I'm not going to be able to figure this out.
Right.
Like clinical, as a clinician, I thought that would be my biggest problem. But it actually turned out that was my easiest problem. That was because school has prepared me very well to be good in that clinician world. So even though I couldn't quite get the diagnosis right away, I've learned the critical thinking skills to eventually get to that point.
Right.
So to me, that's like the fun stuff because you're like, it's a mystery. I can figure this out and figure out what's going on. and it's not a high stress situation where you have to make a decision right away, life or death, you know.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But I would say the hardest challenge is definitely either two. I would say two things. One, because I was in a private clinic, it would be insurance. So dealing with 10 types of insurances, all of them having different protocols, different prescriptions you can max give or minimum give, different things like, okay, this insurance you have to do a reassessment every 10 visits or every 5 visits. You have to get an authorization for. It's just like there's just so much stuff, like, because it's through insurance. It was just a struggle to figure out all of them and to figure out which plan would be the best for the patient, or if a patient didn't have any options, if this is the only insurance that they have, how can we best utilize the sessions that you have to give you the best results? For
Mhm.
example, you have person A who can get 20 visits like no problem. Person B who only gets 5 visits and that's it, can't get any more. You're going to treat them different. So I think that was the hardest part, to bring up that plan and to get all that stuff. And then secondly, it's just dealing. I think dealing with difficult people is sometimes hard for me. You know,
Yeah.
just people who are just in so much pain, or just really complain about different things that I personally feel shouldn't be that big, but to them it is. So it's always a constant struggle to try to empathize, have compassion. To somebody else, it might like, this hurts so much, but in my mind, I'm like, that I've seen things like that, and it shouldn't hurt that much. But that's how they're feeling, and that's real. So I have to accommodate to that as a clinician.
Yeah, understandable. Do you ever have people have problems buying into physical therapy in terms of like
Oh yeah.
they think it's like pseudoscience or something like
Hmm.
that? Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. I would say like it's always the best feeling when you are able to, you know, change someone's perspective from pseudoscience to actual science. It's like, wow, this stuff actually works, you know.
Yeah.
But there's also patients where they came in and they're just, you can tell they're not bought in, and I try and they're just still not bought in, and they're the ones who leave, and that's okay. It's not for everybody,
Yeah. Fair
even if
enough
you think you
response.
can help everybody.
Yeah. I try not to have that mindset because I know people well enough and there's a lot of different people out there.
Yes,
So
a
there
lot of
are
skeptics.
absolutely. Um,
Yeah.
Still talking about stuff with the job, I guess. Does the job give you enough flexibility in your mind to pursue other passions outside of physical therapy?
I think in I think in the beginning it's a little bit hard because you're learning the ropes of everything. But after you get the hang of things, it becomes a little bit more of a routine, and then that way you can open up your time to do other things. Yeah, definitely. I think it depends on your schedule, if it's an 8 to 5 or whatnot. But you definitely should um, open up, try to have that discipline and boundaries to open up your time so you can do other things like exercise. Like, I love to exercise, I love to do YouTube videos, I do that. Spend time with my wife and my family and my baby as it's coming. I think there is time, you have a good work life balance to do those things.
Okay. If there's one glaring flaw in PT that you could change, what would it be?
Glaring flag.
Like a glaring flaw in the field.
Oh, flaw.
Does it go back to those insurance companies and how everything's so inconsistent or
I think there's, yeah, I think that is definitely something that, like, you can't help, but it's just the system is what it is, and it just sucks for some people who get stuck on the tail end of things. I just wish there was a better mode to communicate better. I think there's still a disconnect from doctor to patient to physical therapist to phys- to patient figuring out what they need to do for the rest of their life. There's still a missing link there, and I'm still wish that we could push the profession forward to, make that a smoother transition.
okay? Very well answered. All right, now we're going to jump into finance. All right.
Ooh, yeah.
All right. So what can a new grad expect to earn? Just give me a range for what you've seen out there.
Sure. I would say on average $60,000 to $80,000, roughly average about $70,000 starting. But of course, this is different per region, per city, per certification, per location, per setting. Like there's so many factors. Maybe you have some additional assets, bilingual, trilingual, whatever that can help you. But I would say on general, 60 to 80,000. If you work in the hospital, like the bigger hospitals like Kaiser or like Hoag or any of these bigger ones, you can get up to close to 90 to $100,000 starting.
Oh,
So with benefits, right?
yeah.
So I mean, but the payout is that you're in the system. You're in the hospital system that you can't really get out because that's just the standard that they have. But in outpatient orthopedic or outpatient private clinic, it's more flexible. You can do what you want. You don't have to wear your uniform all the time. You can kind of curse or do some stuff and it's okay. You can have tattoos showing and as long as the clinic is fine with it. But in a hospital, it's just a little bit more like professional,
Okay.
but you make more
Then,
money.
yeah. Does that, I know with most jobs, it comes along with more hours too. Is that the same case that you see with new grads working those $100,000 jobs that they're working just a ton of hours to get that, or is it just typical? Really?
Yeah, just 40 hours a week. Yeah. So typically a starting PT will make somewhere between like 32 to $40 an hour. At those bigger hospitals, you'll get close to 50 plus an hour.
Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And then other than the quality of life that you talked about at the hospital with the uniforms and all that stuff, do you think that there is a drastic difference in quality to life from like an outpatient private clinic to that hospital?
There's pros and cons, and once you get yourself involved with inpatient versus outpatient, you'll understand the differences. The lifestyle's a little different because even though an inpatient in the hospital, now, just to clarify, in the hospital you have inpatient and outpatient in the hospital, right? But
Right.
I think for this drastic comparison, we'll talk about inpatient hospital versus outpatient orthopedic or something. In the inpatient hospital, the life is like, I mean, it's quicker, it's faster, because anything can happen at a given moment. But if you take a step back and you look at it, it's like all you're doing is really getting the patient up and moving around, maybe walking them down the hall and then back into their bed. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but there's a lot of thinking involved before and during when it's happening. Um, so both professions have its pros and cons with the work balance, but I think in general, for whether you're inpatient, outpatient, or whatever setting, you'll still have time to hang out and have fun and do the things that you want to do as a physical therapist. Like you're not really taking work home unless you have to do documentation.
Documentation. That seems like I'm
Ah,
already been hearing all about that. So,
yes, yes. In the beginning, it's hard, but as you get used to it, you kind of figure out what you're going to already say. You kind of have some templates as to what words you constantly use over and over. So it gets a lot faster, but in the beginning, it takes forever.
it's like an adjustment process.
The adjustment process, yeah.
All right. So we talked earlier a little bit about nursing and PA. And now I kind of want to tie those two in with PT and kind of ask you, do you think your ROI or your return on investment with PT has been comparable to either a nursing degree or a PA degree? Would you rank that anywhere above or below those two?
Yeah, so if we're comparing those three, I would put PT at the bottom of the list for return on investment because
Yeah.
it's a very poor investment. I'd put nursing at the top and then PA in the middle. The reason I put nursing first is because you only need an associate's degree to start working. Most nurses have a bachelor's, and there's always room for growth. So you can be a PA, or you can be a PA, a NP, you can be a doctorate in nursing, and there's just a lot of room and versatility, right? PA, you do have to go to grad school 2 years, but it's not as much, but you make a ton of money, like over 100,000 easily starting. So return on investment's good. PT, you have a lot of money for investment and you don't make that much money in the end.
Yeah.
And you're working an extra year compared to a PA. So I don't think that's really fair. It doesn't make logical sense, but it is what the profession is. And I can't argue the system unless you do something about it and open up your own practice. And if that's the case, then I think your return on investment, if you open up your own PT practice, then I would put PT at the top, if that's what you're going to do. Because then you could, I mean, even though it costs all that money, you can make so much more money by having a DPT with private clients.
Would it be fair to say that, do you think out of the three, PTs have the most autonomy in their career?
Mm,
I would
I would
think
say
PA would.
PA and PT are pretty similar.
Okay.
I mean, even though you think physician assistant, you're like, oh, it's an assistant. Like they're very open to do their own thing. They don't have to always have somebody who's shadowing them, a physician shadowing them. I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have. But I would say PAs and PTs are pretty close as far as autonomy goes.
Okay. Do you, I think I'll bring up the elephant in the room with PT school tuition getting just out of
Yes.
control.
Yes.
I'm sort of seeing it where there could be a drastic shift away from the profession here in the next couple of years until that tuition kind of levels off. I kind of want to get your thoughts on that. If there's going to be a little bit less therapists coming into school in the next few years or pursuing the field just due to that cost aspect. I mean, what
Yeah.
are you seeing out there for the people you work with?
Well, just following the data and following the statistics, because that's what I do, because this is my field and I gotta learn about students coming in and know the numbers. The numbers are showing, from year after year since year 2000s, the numbers are still going up. Students enrolling, tuition increasing, more PT schools being created and becoming accredited. I mean, there's just nothing to really show that things are leveling off yet. I can see as tuition continues to grow that this is something where people might be like, this is just way too much for the amount you're making. I'll choose something else. So I can definitely see it level off, but I don't think there'll ever be like for example, like chiropractors. Like I think there's been a huge drop off
Yeah,
in
that's a
that
good
field.
example. Yep.
And I don't think PTs will ever get to that point because it's just the history shows that we're just constantly growing. Certification to bachelor's to master's to now doctorate. Who knows what's next?
Yeah. Yeah, chiropractic's a good example. I've heard definitely all kinds of different stuff about if PT could ever get there, but I definitely agree more along with what you said. I think it's a more diverse profession than chiropractic to drop
Yeah.
off as drastically as they have.
Right.
But I mean, that they experienced a similar problem too, where I mean their tuition, they're like medical doctor level tuition at that point. I'm seeing chiropractic schools at least like that, but
Yeah, it's definitely not worth it because I mean, even with chiropractors, a lot of people the medical business model just doesn't really work out for chiros unless you do your typical mill clinic where people come in, adjust quick, come back next week, and then just keep going through that. It's like why would you want to live like that?
yeah. I feel that. All right. How would you, I guess, define financial independence in your own words?
That's a good question. I think you can. I don't really know exactly what it means to be financially independent because you're always going to have some money coming in, right? So that doesn't mean like I don't need money anymore. So, but I think you're in the right path if you I think you're in the right path towards financial independence if you can take away like 2 weeks of your time to put into whatever you're doing and still make a living. Like if you're working for the man, you're working at a PT clinic and you take 2 weeks off, I don't think that's financial independence. Even though you're fine, you handle taking a cut of 2 weeks of no pay, but it's not making money for you. You have to physically be there to make that money. I think financial independence is on the road where things are more passive, and you can make a living off of the 2 weeks that you didn't do anything, and it's still bringing in money for you. For example, online courses, real estate. I think that's the mode to get there. And
Side
PT
income.
using like side income, yeah, and then making it your full income. But I think as a physical therapist, it's kind of hard for us sometimes because we have to be there to actually make the money. We can't do telework or whatever. So I think there's still a gap there. I think something can be figured out where we can be more scalable in our practices and monetize that. And this is just me talking entrepreneurially,
Yeah.
uh, but I think the connection hasn't just really been made there yet.
Yeah, I feel like I can't quite see it yet, but I mean, you've been in the field now for a little bit. So, I mean, I feel like once you get in the field, that's when you see all the flaws officially,
Yes,
because
yes.
they really don't like to tell you the flaws up
They
until
just
you
tell you
actually
the good
get in.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
uh,
If you could give one piece of financial advice to anybody listening, your number one top tip, what would you say?
Number one top tip. I would definitely say, I mean, it sounds so simple, but for those of you who are students, the best thing you can do right now is to save your money. Like, it sounds so dumb, doesn't sound sexy, it doesn't sound like it's this big secret, you invest in anything. No, just save your money. Because do you have like 3 minutes? Can I just share something real quick?
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
okay. So a lot of students will think like, okay, I'm going to make a ton of money. But in order to do that as a physical therapist, I need to go through PT school. And while I'm in PT school, I don't have $100,000 to pay for tuition. So you take out loans. You take out the loans. You think it's free money because you're not responsible to pay it back. You don't realize that. I think a lot of people are not educated enough about how loans work, repayment plans, all that. So then the interest accumulates, blah blah blah, and then now you're like, dude, I have so many loans to pay, and I spent my money instead of saving it on useless trips, going out. I spent $200, let's say, going out and having drinks with my friends and eating. It's like that money, that $200, even though it doesn't seem like a lot now compared to $100,000, those things add up over and over and over. And even before PT school, I wish I saved money. Like I would have had like, let's say, I don't know, $20,000 saved up, but I ended up using it all, spending it all on stupid stuff. And that's 10, 20 grand that I could have put paying off my loans or put for a down payment on a house,
Yeah.
right? But I think just the age, the maturity, the level, the time that you're going into PT school or on the pre-physical therapy journey, you're just not financially and mature enough to understand those things, to see in the foresight. So I think that's like the one advice that I can give is just save your money and educate yourself how to how loans work, how repayments work, and if you can work a side job or have a side hustle just to make a little bit even makes a big difference.
I like it. Very well said. I definitely see a lot of people that have no concept about the loans. We actually just had a talk in our program the other day. The financial aid
Yeah.
lady came in and talked to us and said, just understand that these grad plus loans, they accrue interest right away, right when you take them out. They're
Yep.
not accruing like undergrad loans when you get out and you've graduated. They're right when you take them out, and they are not at a low interest rate.
Mm-mm.
Right now, thankfully, for those people that might be in that situation, it's frozen for a little
Yes.
bit. But
Yes.
oh man, those
Thank
people
God.
that haven't had that, I mean, that's what kills you. People don't understand what kills you. It's the interest that kills you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What resources have you looked at in your life financially that have been big inspirations to you?
Just definitely educating yourself on YouTube, on online, making sure. I think it really helps to calculate things yourself and to actually like sit down with the numbers, try to figure it out. I know if you're not a math person, it's a little bit difficult, but they have online resources like Loan Calculator, Nerd Wallet, those kinds of things that really help, that are good resources to give you an understanding of, oh, if I paid this amount of money for 5 years, I can pay off $100,000. Or if I have this loan and I have it for 10 years, I'm going to accrue this much amount of interest. And so these are just things to open up your eyes on areas of finances where you're like, well, I had no idea about all this stuff. And now that I'm responsible, I have to pay it back and, do all these things. And I just wish I looked at it a little bit earlier to help myself.
Yeah, I think that everybody sort of has their own little thing that, hindsight's 2020. And looking back,
Hmm.
man, if I could have just done this or just done
Yep.
that.
Yep. Yep.
But
Yep.
I feel like if you can educate yourself and really see what's out there online, you can try to avoid those mistakes. Because there's a lot of
Yes.
stuff out there. I know I'm a big Dave Ramsey guy. I follow him a lot. I don't know about
Yeah,
you,
he's
if you
great.
have
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
listened to any of those. Like,
I know he has his approach with the snowball and avalanche method type of thing.
it's
I'm a huge
controversial.
believer. It's controversial. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I personally think that the snowball method is, everyone's different, but that's the
yeah,
approach that I'm taking to attack my loans. Um, I think I don't. It's not 100% like 100% snowball. That's all I'm doing, but that's kind of the general direction that in the way that I'm going.
good to know. Do you have any philanthropic causes that you like to support financially, just for anybody out there? Because I think giving is huge. I mean, if you have made it to the point where you are a DPT, giving back to your community is huge for me. Do you have anything like that in your life that really speaks to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Personally, I haven't found anything where I really feel called to give back in that way. Anytime students like online or on Instagram, they have like these donation things, charity things, donate for a student that needs money for scholarship or something. I try to give for those areas. It's actually something I wanted to start doing myself, where I kind of start like a charity or some sort of scholarship to help students, with loans and whatnot. I think that's really cool. But personally, I haven't found anything yet to give back to in that sense. Have you?
No, not yet. I'm trying to, again, follow sort of that Dave Ramsey style where you kind of gotta live below your means right now. And I have right now in my situation just have a lot of money going out towards school enough as it is, but definitely I have plans, as I do start to have a steady income coming in, to do something like that, because
Yeah,
I feel like, you can go buy fancy clothes, fancy cars, fancy jewelry. But when you actually impact somebody's life, I mean, that's what really means something to you. I don't know about,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
All
yeah, I
right.
totally get that.
That was the financial aspect. So now we're going to shift into lifestyle. Talk to me about your YouTube. What really was the deciding factor that decided, hey, I'm going to start doing YouTube and helping some pre-PTs out? Was there like a part in your journey that really said I could make a difference with that?
I think it started out as a hobby. I got really, I guess, a little bit more consistent on YouTube when I went into PT school. I did some stuff before, nothing crazy, just for funsies. And then when I went to PT school, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna vlog this experience because nothing is showing me online that they have something like this, like day in the life of a PT student. Like if you look, I mean, you might have a few, but none of them finish. All of them are like 1 year, and then all of a sudden, 5 years later, hey, I'm back on YouTube. It's like what? That doesn't make sense. So I saw that there was a need, and in that time when I was in school, vlogging has been continuing to grow, and it still is. So I said, you know what? Let me talk about this. And as I was going, and that started as a hobby, I realized, wait, there is a actual professional benefit by doing this. Now, Kyle, for you, I think this is something that will definitely resonate. And for those who are thinking about putting yourself on social media, YouTube, podcasting, whatever it is, I 100% believe that by putting yourself out there, you are going to have leverage over other students who are not putting yourself out there. Let me say that one more time. By putting yourself on social media, you are leveraging and becoming more competitive to get a job and for future opportunities compared to someone who is not putting themselves out there. Now, I say that because number one, we live in this social world and that's just the way it is. You network, you have to be on LinkedIn, you have to do everything you can to get a job. Now, if somebody, whoever the hiring person, is able to find you and see your stuff on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, that gives that hiring person a better understanding of your character, of your skills, of your personality. They can size you up. And of course, when you put yourself on social media, you're going to put out your best self. That's just kind of how it is, you know? Like, I mean, it's very unfortunate that that's the way it is in social media, but it's like your resume. Think about it like that. Your
Yeah.
social media presence is your resume. And that is how I was able to get a residency interview. That's how I was able to get my job. That's how I'm going to be able to get my future jobs, all because I put on my resume and on my application, I have my YouTube channel, I have my Instagram, this is what I do, blah, blah, blah. Then they can see, wow, this person has several thousand followers or 7,000 subscribers. There must be some sort of authority in this field. Let me click a video, one of his best ones. Oh my gosh, Justin is so funny. He's like, he knows how to educate. He knows how to, share his thoughts and articulate these things well.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let's interview him because he seems like a cool person. Boom. You already have your whole resume set up online for people to get at any given time. Like I was given opportunities for job employment and other different types of stuff just because of my videos. Like, and it doesn't matter if you have 100 views on them, 50 views on it, 1,000, it doesn't matter. Because if it's on there, you can always, always, always link it to your recruiter or whoever you're trying to hire with and say, hey, look, here's a video of me online. Feel free to check it out. All they have to do is click and spend 10 seconds watching you. And that's 10 extra seconds that they are looking at you versus someone else. Come on. This is like
Ooh,
the biggest, yes. This is like, and this is something I realized early on when I was in PT school. And that's why I stuck with it because I knew that once this investment, even though it doesn't seem like a lot, I know it's going to pay out. And it absolutely did. And everywhere I go, you best believe I'm putting my YouTube on there because it's leverage. I mean, who wouldn't who wouldn't be impressed with somebody who's worked hard to put themselves and put a bunch of videos on YouTube with thousands of views on them, and then you go, wow, this person has a couple thousand subscribers. That's impressive, you know? So
yeah.
already right there, you're leveraging who you are without actually, it's a different way to leverage and boost your application without actually, like, I don't know, doing community service or getting involved with some things, which are all great things. But I think this is a very smart and tactical way to approach the success of your future.
I think that's beautifully said. I think it's almost, you brought up the comparison to a resume. I almost think it's better than a resume because you can put a face to all the information that you're actually talking about. And
Yes.
that's such a game changer. I mean,
Yep.
just like you always preach, PT specifically is all about connecting with the people, and
Yep. Yep.
business is all about connecting with the people.
Hmm.
So if you can connect with people, that's huge. And showing that you can connect with people is a valuable asset, especially in the digital world that people can't
Yep.
talk anymore, it
Nope.
seems like.
Nope. Yep.
But yeah,
And it's really awesome too, because let's just say they didn't have a chance to look at your videos or whatever you have online. You best believe that when you go into that interview, you can be like, hey, I don't know if you saw my resume, but I had some links of some of my top videos. Oh, you already have it queued, right? Oh, here, right here. Check it out. I already have it on my phone. Why don't you spend 10 minutes and you just go through it 10 minutes, 10 seconds, sorry. And that already makes you more like, oh, that's Justin, the guy who showed me the video. Like they remember those things. So this is like an area that I feel like has so much impact and has so much power. But a lot of people, you know what? The problem is that a lot of people don't go on it is because they're scared. They're
Yeah.
scared to put their face on there, scared of what other people will think. But at the end of the day, do you want to come to the road of, I'm like, all right, did I get this? Did I not get this job because I was scared or because I just didn't have the skill? I gave my very best, but I wasn't good enough. Fine. But I would hate to get to a point where I got rejected because I was scared to do something.
Amen, man. Amen. That would be, there's a lyric out there. I think it's, you're worse than a failure if you've never tried. So, I mean, you got to
Yeah.
try,
Yep.
and hey, let the chips fall where they may. All right.
Exactly.
Just got a couple more questions.
Sure.
Talk to me a little bit about this course that you've been making for pre-PTs. I know that's sort of been in your social media. By the time that this airs, maybe it's going to be out. I have no idea. But
Yeah.
go ahead and talk to me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I have two courses out. One of them has been out for a while. Another one I just made. It's super brand new. But both courses serve pre-physical therapy students mostly, and then some students who are in physical therapy. So the first course teaches you everything you need to know to get into and accepted in physical therapy school. So it teaches you through all the requirements, every single one, tips, strategies, the way that you should approach things step by step, so that you can learn the secrets to know what part of the application gives you the most bang for your buck, so that you can have the best chance to get accepted into your dream school program. So that's the first one. Pretty low level, like pretty low entry. It's 27 bucks. It's super affordable for all students, so that, and I did that purposely so students can have access, so they know, hey, I want to be a physical therapist. What do I have to do? Boom, here you go. It's very compact in for you. All the years that I've had students ask me all these questions, that's what I put in that course. So I think that it was a really convenient way for all of us to get benefit from all this, you know? The second course that I've been making is called Levator Academy. And I'm so stoked to launch this course because it teaches you how to be a high performing physical therapy student. Now, this is whether you're a pre-PT or a PT student, but I share the 6 cornerstones that are needed, the 6 areas that you need to really focus on, lift those habits up, and really push them out into the real world. Because these 6 cornerstones are the ones that are going to help you become a high performer. So the cornerstones are to increase your productivity. So I teach you how to do that. I teach you how to have effective study habits that are scientifically proven, and some ways that maybe are working for you and not working, and how you can pivot in your studying habits, because that's ultimately important in school, right?
Totally.
Um, Number 3, in the personal, sorry, not the personal, the physical therapy world, fitness is a huge thing. And so this is where I feel like is really unique with my course versus others, is that I merge fitness, exercise, and a workout plan, and teaching you how to move better so that you can obviously be healthier, but also be a leader in our profession. You know, we are movement experts, and we have to know how to move correctly. Fourth cornerstone, we talk about mental well-being. The fifth one, we talk about finances, loans, budgeting. I have a whole calculator and a whole Excel sheet that I created myself to help students like yourself to help you budget better. And then the last one is relationships and the inner circle. So how to select people to be in your inner circle. You are who you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with 5 millionaires, you're going to be a millionaire. If you surround yourself with 5 losers, you're going to be a loser. So determining how to strategically pick that, including the people in school, your classmates, your mentors, how to ask mentors for help. I go through all of that in way more detail. Each cornerstone has about it's like 30 no, it's like 40 minutes to an hour's worth of training for each one of those modules. Comes with worksheets and a bunch of stuff. So I'm super pumped to release that. It is more expensive, but I did that because I want people who are really invested in themselves to take themselves to that higher level, to know that it is going to take an investment to get there, but that investment will be worth it. It will teach you how to excel as a student, how to excel in life. so that you can be set up for success when you are done with PT school, when you are entering PT school, accepted. And so you can already get things and have a handle of those things so that you can open up your time for other things.
Nice. Do you got any idea when that could be coming along? Like when you'll be dropping that? Is that
It's probably coming sometime near midsummer to the end of summer as the next school year is going to start. I do have it available, but I now this is just between me and you, and later when people watch this, that's fine. But I'm gonna actually roll it out to the people who have been involved with me, Levator Academy, or sorry, Levator Nation first. So like on my Facebook group, on those email lists, the people who have actually invested their time, I want to give you first access to access that course first, rather than the public. So it'll be totally all insider, I guess, hiring or training before we go to the external.
all right?
And
Sounds
that'll be
good.
coming out in the next month or so. So be on the lookout for that.
All right, I'll try to have all your info linked in the description below, including the Facebook group, because I feel
Sure.
like that's a growing community where they can interact with you personally or all the other people that are on there that are starting to make it in the world in
Yeah.
PT.
Yeah.
It's been an awesome community. I wish I'd found it sooner. I didn't find it until I had already been accepted, but
Right.
lots of good people on there that are willing to help if you need it. So once again,
Yeah.
I'll have that in the description below.
Yeah. I know you were really active when I was doing my lives and stuff, like a little bit before you got accepted, I think. And I know you were a huge help to other students and the community. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. I feel like it's in me, kind of like it is in you, here to do this thing. If you can give back to people or, teach some lessons that you wish you would have learned earlier, hey, I'm all for it.
Yes.
The more
Yes.
people you can help, the better. But I believe
Yes.
that's all I have, Justin. Thanks for coming on. I had a lot of fun. Once again, Justin Lee at Lift for Change, on both YouTube and Instagram, I do believe.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So go ahead and give him a follow if you need anything. But that's been all for today. So thanks for coming on, Justin.
Yes, you're absolutely welcome, and thank you for your time and your energy and your very thoughtful questions. It was super fun just sharing and giving feedback, and I hope you learned some things. And those of you who are listening, I hope you learned some things. Please feel free to connect with me and just share with me about your physical therapy school journey. And I'm always here to support you and help you get accepted into PT school, thrive in PT school, and just teach you everything I can to be successful once you start working as a therapist. So I'm here to support you every step of the way.
All right. Well said. Thanks, Justin.